Converted man here, Magnifico Giganticus, and I have been having a back and forth. Now, I tried to post a text response, but YouTube's wonderful glitched out comment system decided to eat my lengthy response, so I guess I'll just do this instead. What claims would you require first-hand empirical evidence and why? Now, so on his video, I said the things that I require to know that anything is true, the only things that I will accept for anything at all is empirical evidence, repeatable test, or valid and sound argument. That has been my list since I've started being a skeptic. One of those three things. And it's interesting to me when people focus on the first two. Well, what do you need empirical evidence for? And that's usually the focus. Not so much the repeated testing, but that does every now and then get people's ire up. Like, oh, you can't have that for everything. Well, actually, we do pretty much have that for everything, just about. Either we have empirical evidence or we have a repeatable test or both. And if we don't have that, then, well, the only thing that would be left would be maybe a sound argument, but maybe not that, because how would you verify that it's a thing in the first place? So this gets into the extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence statement, which is more of an idea than it is any sort of formula. It's a guideline. And it's meant to be intuitive, but some people, I guess it's not that intuitive. I don't know. So there's something called the social contract that we humans grant to each other. If you tell me something, I believe you, that's my default position, unless I have some reason not to. Now, a little bit ago, I was skeptical that this guy had gone to college for logic. And much to my surprise, he actually proved that he did. And he didn't have to do that. I was happy that he did. I decided, that was silly of me to doubt that. But I've dealt with so many apologists over time that have straight up lied to me that it's easy for me to believe that a different apologist would lie to me. But that's kind of like, I don't know, bigotry, or it's not racism, but it's assuming that, people are going to behave in similar ways. So, that's on me. My bad. At any rate, normally we grant each other the innocence of that you're telling me the truth, unless I have a reason to suspect otherwise. So I don't necessarily need empirical evidence every single time. Let's say somebody said, I ate dinner last night. I'm not going to require them to furnish me a picture or a video of them eating dinner. It's a normal claim. It's a mundane claim. It's something that people do. People eat dinner. I've eaten dinner. You've eaten. It's not something extraordinary. It's a rather normal claim. There's not really any harm in just believing somebody did that. Now, maybe they're lying. I don't have any reason to think that that's the case. There's nothing at stake for me in believing them. This is it's just a mundane claim. It's a normal claim. All right. Now, what if they said, well, I ate dinner with the President of the United States? Well, that's a bit more of an extraordinary claim. Now, unless you're the guy lighting the candles in that picture, I'm going to be like, I need some proof here. I need to see you near the president while you're eating. I need something more to go on. And even if you are that guy that's lighting candles, well, I know you were there around food with the president, but you're lighting candles, so I don't know that you would be eating with him, because it seems like you're just a preparation person that's setting up for the event that they're going to have with tons of fast food. Okay, whatever. So I have some reasons to doubt the veracity of what you've told me, but I have something to go on. So if you said, hey, I had dinner with the president, and you didn't furnish me with any picture, I have nothing to go on, and thus no reason to believe you at all. But if you give me this picture and you happen to be the dude that's lighting the candle, I could be like, well, at least I have something to go on. Now, I might have more questions about the picture. I might have doubts that need to be resolved. I might want additional proof, but at least I have a place to start. I have something that gives me reason to think, okay, maybe that's a true story. But if you don't give me a picture, I don't have any reason at all to believe that you ate dinner with the President of the United States, unless there's information that we're leaving out of this scenario, like you work with the president. Then there are reasons, okay? But just assuming you're a normal Joe Schmo dude, you're just a guy like I am, just a random YouTube person, and you tell me I ate dinner with the president, and that's all I know, because I don't know that actually you work with the president, because you didn't tell me that, then I have reasons to doubt, and I'm going to need some proof. As we all should. But what if it's even more than that? What if you said, oh, actually, I ate dinner with an alien from outer space. Well, okay, now I'm going to need maybe more than just a picture. A picture is a good place to start, but you're not even in the picture. That's an alien eating food, but you're not in the picture. So that didn't give me a reason to think that this is really happening. It's not enough to go on. If you're in the picture with the alien and you're both eating food, okay, but again, we're probably going to want more than just that. We have every reason to doubt that scenario. So empirical evidence is something that we need, because if somebody says, I ate dinner with an alien, do you have any pictures? Do you have any video? No. Do you have audio recording? No. What do you got? Nothing. Just my word. One human to another. I'm telling you the truth. I can't prove it to you, but you just believe me because I said so. No, I'm not gonna. I don't care how long I've known you. I don't care how much we've been through. It's just too much. I can't just believe that. I need proof. I need some visual confirmation that this has happened. I need something to go on. Otherwise, I'm not going to believe the story. Nobody should. The correct way to frame this question is when you don't need empirical evidence. What situations would you not require empirical evidence for? And those would be the mundane, everyday life situations that we find ourselves in. Yeah, I'll say, I went to the bank yesterday and I withdrew $20, and so I only have $20 to help pay for the meal. All right, I believe that. You cheapskate, but okay. I'll throw that 20 out. I mean, it would have been good if you told me that before we ordered $100 worth of food, but okay, So, if you go to the bank and you want to get some money and put your card in the little machine there, why? Because that serves as evidence that you have an account with us. Oh, I need empirical evidence. Well, why? Because we want to know that you have an account with us. That's why. You don't have a card? You don't have your card with you. Oh, that happens. Can I see your ID? Oh, I don't have that. Well, yeah, I'm going to need some way for you to prove that you're you and that you have an account with us. What's your name? What's your birth date? What's your social security card? Oh, I don't know any of that. I don't know my name. Yeah, I just have an account with you. It's not going to work, okay? But when do you not need empirical evidence? There are situations where you don't need it. It doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. It's not going to end the world if you just believe somebody when they tell you X thing. I was at a fair one time, and this guy was selling candles, and they were rather expensive scented candles. And this giant writings in front said known to help, and everything was on there: colds, back pain, insomnia, whatever. It's been known to help all these things. And I said, really? That's an interesting little sign there. Can you prove any of that's true? And see, the phrasing, of course, is there because it can't just say it has cured X, Y, and Z, but you can say it's been known to. Yeah, drinking water has been known to refresh you. Well, okay, but drinking water has also been known to help you feel better after a surgery. Maybe, So it's an unfounded claim. And so he didn't have anything to offer. And then he made wild claims about the candles being made by some guy on this mountain and all this other nonsense. And he was just lying out his teeth. And then he acted all like he was upset when I just said, no, I don't believe you. Oh, you say I'm a liar? You're like, yeah, I think so. I mean, you're lying. I mean, I can tell, this is not true. These statements aren't true. And you're acting like they are when you know they aren't. So if you want to sell expensive scented candles, fine, but don't add this claim to them. Well, without that claim, maybe they won't sell the candles. Well, then don't sell the candles, but be honest with people. It's just a scented candle, and you're at a fair. And if you decide you want a scented candle for whatever bizarre reason, it's going to cost you more money because you're at the fair. So you expect to pay more than you would anywhere else already. Maybe make them look cool or something. I don't know, but there's no value added by that false statement of been known to help with whatever. It's just a lie. So we're going to want and demand to see some reason we should believe in the story. People believe that crystals have all sorts of different properties, healing properties. But if you do a test, it doesn't seem to do anything. So that's the second part of what I require to believe something is a repeated test, which is interesting that he didn't focus on that. Why focus on the empirical evidence? Well, I suppose because you might think, well, there's things I can think of that I don't have empirical evidence for that I don't think that we can prove, and therefore it's ridiculous or unusual or over the top to ask for this thing when it isn't. Everything that is around you that you can see, that's empirical. It's there. You can see it with your eyeballs. You don't need to have anything other than your own vision to know that your computer is a thing that you have. If I wanted empirical evidence of your computer, you could easily send me a picture of your computer. And maybe you don't want to. That's fine. But you could. It's not an unreasonable expectation to have about reality when we have it for pretty much everything. Yeah, we've even seen atom now. We can visualize an atom. So empirical evidence isn't limited to sight alone. We could use microscopes, telescopes, and other devices that we have to visualize any given phenomenon. So, what you got? If you don't have empirical evidence, you should ask yourself, why don't I have empirical evidence for this thing? What is it about this thing that doesn't allow me to provide empirical evidence for it? What makes it impossible to produce the empirical evidence for it? And that is a very important question to ask. Let's shift gears a bit. That would have been, I would have said something like that or typed something like that, but I'm not done because it's a video, so I'm going to be longer about this. Now, let's talk about the number one for a moment here. This isn't something that you can provide in a way. The empirical evidence of one is that. That's the best we can do. We can draw it because it's an idea. Now, we could have decided that that's not how we want to draw the number one. We could have, as society, decided that we would draw it some other way. We could hypothetically still do it, but for whatever reasons, this is how we decided to indicate this idea of one. Now, could you please pass me a 1 so I can take a bite out of it? No, I can't. Why not? Well, because 1 isn't a thing. What do you mean it's not a thing? I'm looking at it. Well, yes, you're looking at it, but that's not 1. There is no 1. 1 isn't. Wait, what? No, yeah, 1 isn't. It's not a thing that you can hold. It's not a thing you can eat or smell or detect. Well, what the hell is it? It's an idea. It's an idea. That's it. It's a concept in the mind. We came up with it and we can understand it, and there's a lot of conceptual framework there of what it is, but what it isn't is anything more than just an idea in the mind, an object of the mind. There are other objects of the mind, and some of them are abstract objects of the mind, and some of them are not abstract. And but regardless, you cannot find the number one in nature. Why? Because it isn't that sort of thing. You can't pick the number one from a tree and eat it. It's just not there to do that with. The only place it is in your brain and my brain and our brains, because we have given this idea to each other. What is this? Hopefully you know. It's a triangle, right? We're looking at triangles. Talking about triangles now. Again, you can't give me a triangle. Well, you can give me things that are in the shape of a triangle, but you can't give me triangle. It's not that sort of thing. The empirical evidence of triangle is that. I'm looking at it. That's what triangle is. I can draw it, but that's all I can do. It's an object of the mind. By the way, I'm not looking at triangle. I'm looking at particular triangles. These are types of triangles. They are not triangle. because triangle is a concept called a universal concept. Universals and particulars are different. The universal concept of triangle, I can't show you that on the screen because all I can do is show you particular versions of triangles. The concept of triangle, that's embedded in math. What makes a triangle in the first place, that's mathematics. I can show you how that works, but I cannot show you triangle. Just like I can't show you house. I cannot show you the concept house. I can show you particular versions of house. But what a house is kind of abstract. It's an abstract object of the mind. Now, sometimes you can find a specific type of house, but that's not the house that I was thinking about. I was thinking about just house, not house. See, that's the house that I wanted to talk about, not that house. Okay? So, yeah. And language can be funny like that. This house is a particular version of house that isn't like the house that was the other version of house, which isn't that, is this instead. One's a person, the other's a building. It's different, but still, it's a concept. Although both have empirical evidence for them and both can be conceived in the mind, they are also outside of the mind. There is a particular house that we can go to. There's the house doctor on TV that we can watch, although he's a fictional character. Maybe somebody somewhere is named House with their last name, middle name, first name, whatever. Maybe all three names. Why not? House music, right? Exactly. Now we're dealing with two abstract objects of the mind at once, right? Music and house, right? So there is empirical evidence of particular versions of house. And so when I say empirical evidence of house, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a particular house. I'm not asking for a universal of the house. Of course not. That's silly. Okay. Cool. Great. Wonderful. What about God? Because that's what got us here, right? All right. Well, is this God? Am I looking at God? Is this a picture of God? Is that a picture of God? Is this a picture of God? Is that is that God? Is that God? Is this God? Where's God? Is that God? Is this God? Is just that God? Is that a God? Is that God? What's God? Where is it? Well, these are particular versions of God, but they're not God. In fact, in the Judeo-Christian religion, God isn't a picturable thing at all. And to try to paint or draw or make a representation of God could be seen as an idol. And so many churches don't portray God at all. Not in painting, not in any way, shape, or form. They feel it's a sin to do so because it's an idol. So you can't even show a picture of God. So it's a universal, or is it a particular? Well, I don't know. There's no picture of it. We can't even draw a picture of it because it's against our religion to do so. Or, well, anything that we draw wouldn't actually be God. It would be a representation of God. Okay? So we don't have a particular... So we have what do we have then? Is that a picture of God? No, it's a representation of God. So it's a universal still. It's not the particular God. Well, we can't draw God. Why not? Because there is no empirical God to look at in the first place. So we can't draw God. We can't paint God. We can only do that in some representative way. It's an abstract object of the mind. Paint logic. What would that look like? Well, that's an abstract object of the mind, right? Can't paint logic. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Fuck. No, that's not logic. I know he named himself Logic, but that's not logic. That's logic. There you go. But how do you paint that? I mean, I guess you could paint that. But is that what I want when I'm asking you to paint logic? Well, not really. But if you're going to paint logic, it would be an abstract painting of some sort because it's an abstract object of the mind. The proof of logic is, well, that. It's there. There's the empirical evidence of logic. Here's the formulas. That's all we've got. That's the best we can do. There you go. But it is an object of the mind. It doesn't exist anywhere except in our mind. It doesn't exist out here with everything else. So, given that God shares properties of the number one, shares properties of logic in that it is an abstract object of the mind. We cannot paint it or draw it because all we would be doing is giving abstract representations of it. Then why should we think that it's anything more than an abstract object of the mind? What proof do we have that God is out here with the rest of us? Well, some theologians say that God isn't out here with the rest of us. They say that God is beyond space-time. I don't know how that works because in my mind, that would remove you from reality. You have nowhere to be and no when to be, so you aren't. Other theologians have different concepts of God. But again, these are concepts. Where's the concrete? How can you demonstrate that this is anything more than an object of the mind? This is why empirical evidence is necessary, to show that it is outside of the mind. This is why some repeatable test would be necessary to test to see if we got it right or not. But you don't have these things, or you would have offered them by now. Instead, all you have been offering, Magnifico Giganticus, is bad arguments. Arguments that can't hope to be sound because they're not even valid in the first place. But even if they were valid, they still wouldn't be sound because you'd have to show their soundness to be true in reality, which would require you to have some epistemology to demonstrate that they are true. It does you no good to say, well, that's unfair to ask for it. Because you see, God isn't a thing that you can ask evidence about. Oh, really? That's interesting. How do you know that? Well, you don't. But your book that you like, that said stuff about God, said that God isn't that thing. So you know about God through a book. Well, how do you know that book is reliable? Oh, well, that's a different argument altogether, isn't it? That you would also need empirical evidence or repeatable tests for, or a sound argument. So I hope you understand what claims would require first-hand empirical evidence and why now. And if not, I would say check out my video called The Challenge. I suspect that might be why YouTube ate my comment, even though I made it as a secondary comment. It's a relatively short video. I could even play it now. Sure, why not? That way, we'll just get it out of the way. All right? Here's the video of the challenge. Here you go. Check this out. And Magnifico Giganticus, respond to the challenge. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. The challenge. Step 1. Go outside in underwear only that have hearts on them. Step 2. Spin counterclockwise as you sing I'm a Little Teapot Short and Stout. Don't forget to do the little teapot dance as you do this. Film everything, then send that film to me and you will get your wishes, multiple, granted. Will you do this challenge? If not, why not? Post your explanation for why you will not perform this challenge in the comments below. After all, if the challenge is true, you get multiple wishes. And if it's false, what do you have to lose, except for a minor bit of embarrassment? So, why wouldn't you do it? Let me know. Okay, so I hope you respond to that challenge, Magnifico Giganticus, with the video or a comment. If YouTube doesn't delete the dang comments, I swear somebody needs to fix this. It's getting ridiculous. And so, yeah, that's all I've got for today, I suppose. Thank you for watching and engaging with what I say. And if you learned something new or you have questions, comments, concerns, or other K words, leave them in the comment section. Wait, K words? What? Yeah. And until next time, be skeptical. And after the next time, stay skeptical.